All right, I think we're going. We're live. So, hello, Rowan. How are you today?
Hey there.
Hi. So, you guys, I'm going to be here today with Rowen Mikodah. And did I pronounce your last name right?
Yes,
Okay,
you got it.
perfect. And we are going to be talking today a little bit about some of the stuff that she does. But before we get started, before I start grilling her, um, I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit today about why I decided to partner with some of these other awesome women that you're going to be hearing from every day at 4 o'clock. And we have so many awesome people that wanted to get involved in this that actually have, I think, like 8 people. So we've got a couple bonus interviews as well. But the reason that I really wanted to do this is because I have a very small amount of knowledge when you look at like the whole wellness world as a whole. Like I come from a yoga lens. I have a background in science. I have a background in mental health. And all of those things are definitely very helpful in doing what I do, but I certainly don't know all that there is out there. And I think it's really important to have a bunch of different tools in your toolbox, have a bunch of different resources that you can pull from, because definitely some of the things that I do and some of the work that I do is not always going to jive with everybody. And some of the work that is out there is really amazing. And so I think it's important just to know what kind of stuff is out there, what stuff is available so that we can take care of ourselves in the best way that is most supportive for us. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Rowan, and just let you share with everyone a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what you do.
Fabulous. Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really just feeling how important self-care and well-being is right now to tend to. So a little bit about me. I have been working in the mental health field for about 6 years now. And what I'm offering now is really working with trauma, with anxiety, depression, and chronic illness in a transformative way by offering groups and Shane. I also have been a registered psychotherapist for about 6 years, and so I can talk about that. But today, outside of all of that work, I am coming to you as an energy intuitive. So some of you may know what that is. Some of you may not. It might be in the realm of woo-woo. And I would love just to share a little bit about how I came to energy work, and is to be an intuitive, really through psychotherapy um, and through understanding trauma, because it seems that the realm of energy medicine is actually highly influencing pretty effective new ways of working in mental health.
Mhm.
And that's something that I would love to share with your viewers, and also love to offer energy medicine
Yeah, that,
as a power of getting grounded. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I definitely am not super, and I'm aware of it. I know about energy work and I know people who do it. It's not something that I've had a lot of work done in that area before. So I am just curious because I know you said you've worked with like a lot of people with trauma, and I have done trauma informed yoga and worked with people in the mental health setting doing yoga and helping people just kind of get into their bodies a little bit more and move some of that. So I would love to hear how the work that you do helps people and I think for a lot of us, we're in this giant collective trauma right now, whether it's dealing with the pandemic, whether you're a person of color and are dealing with all the stuff that's going on right now with the riots, whether we're looking at like people who are immigrants and all that stuff that's been going on for years now. So, I think we all have different trauma that we've experienced, and it can be something as
Mm.
personal as loss, or it could be something as big as these global things that we're seeing. But so I would love to hear more. Yeah, talk a little bit more about what you do and how what your work does supports healing from some of that and processing that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to really speak from a trauma-informed lens. And in that, I'm really trying to understand also what's happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any hard and fast interpretation of it. Just like, I think that those in the are hurting in such an acute way from systemic trauma that I myself can't speak to, but I would love to share um, what we can understand from trauma work. And some of my work as a psychotherapist has led me to understand that what really gets limited in a trauma response, and we'll have to unpack that a little bit too, but what gets what's so challenging is actually our ability to and responsibility is literally that. It's the ability to respond. And so I think it's important for people to understand that just as you and I were talking, Jamie, we can either react or we can respond.
Yep.
And those are, it comes down to those two choices, but those two choices aren't, always cognitive. It's not always something that we're aware of. And so what I've been doing is I've been working for 6 years with people who have a particular limitation in their ability to respond. Their body shut down. And so it's incredibly complex how the body, the energy system shut down, but you really have to have a certain kind of trauma for that to kind of have a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just say that what we know about trauma is evolving and changing, but something new to the field is this understanding that trauma is relational.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to racism, when it comes to, our developmental experience of self in the world, it's usually, there are various kind of windows where we really develop a sense of self. And one of those windows that is missing for people who develop chronic illness is that basic kind of attunement to actually, being able to realize, like, I am seeing someone who cares for me, contact, and a relational sense of connection. So I've been working on helping people redevelop that, because that's where our parasympathetic, or our nervous system, where we get to actually rest and relax, is built from. It's built from relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think that's super interesting. I talk a lot about the vagus nerve, which is, so those of you who know me, like, you've probably heard me talk about this before, but part of the vagus nerve, it goes into your face, which creates all these different facial expressions, which is then a relationship thing. And so retraining the vagus nerve and doing some of this work can help repair relationships. It can help, there's all these different things, but it definitely helps. It's part of the parasympathetic system. So important for people to understand that it's not this like woo-woo thing that's out there, but it's actually part of your nervous system response. And there's nerve energy, there's electrical impulses that are transferred all over our nervous system. And sometimes, and this is why I do the work that I do with like have done at therapy offices, is because it is so helpful to move the body and to start to get that mind body connection and reattune, like you said, reattune it and realign it in a more helpful way, so that we have more helpful patterns in the body.
absolutely. That's what you just spoke to is absolutely critical. And I feel that part of the vagus nerve is this heart-brain connection that gets severed.
Mm-hmm.
And so just like you said, facial expression, when we're wearing masks now, which I am a proponent of, but when we wear masks, we lose, so much of this input, this relational input that we rely on. And of course that input, there's an implicit bias that we kind of filter through this information. So it's just something I would love to share, right now, is just to be aware every time you go into what's called a threat response. which is for your viewers, like anytime you feel a action with the news, or maybe as a white person, I'm aware I have a part of myself that, when I was in Southside Chicago, like I went into threat response, I went into a contracted response. Like that is an implicit bias that I have to really look at and face in myself, right? And so there's so much happening with the nervous system that when we really look at the nervous system, like you do, working with teaching people about how that works through yoga is such a powerful way at beginning to understand, oh, we have control, have choices, and we can practice to change our reactivity.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I think that's the thing, is like the practice, right? We have to practice all of these things all the time. And we have to practice noticing when we're having those responses, like you talk about, and then practicing finding that space between, oh, I notice that this is what's happening in my body. I'm not going to react on this. I'm not going to go into this threat response and this threat reaction. So I would love to hear a little bit about then how you do, like some of the practices that you do, or how some of the work that you do with people actually works. Like I always like to know the why behind everything and like the nitty gritty details. So I don't know. And I think you mentioned before when we were talking a little bit that you have a practice that you are going to share with people today a little bit. So so I would love to just hear a little bit more about that, and maybe even a little bit more about like why this particular practice helps to work to retrain the brain.
Absolutely. So I guess the first piece is that I work with people to develop the ability to self-witness. And by that, in the realm of, so this is kind of separate from my energy healing work, but that's also the motive of energy healing work, is to help people become their own intuitive, to have the manual to their own emotional, energetic, relational system, and to connect with the body. But how I've been doing that as a psychotherapist is I've been using different systems of psychotherapy, but one is parts work or internal family systems. And I also use a lot of trauma-informed work. But the idea is that when we actually get to separate out from our reactivity, we can really see it. And when we can see it, what I do as a therapist is I help people get into a place of accessing what we call the true self, or the authentic self, where they're actually able to see whatever it is from a space of compassion. And when that happens, whether it's anxiety or over an upcoming exam, or like you're speaking to loss, we have these different parts that come in, and they're all kind of like these little voices in our head, that these thoughts then become emotions, and that emotional chemistry becomes a loop. And so I help people separate out, and so that we can use compassion, which is the higher brain function that actually dissolves. Just like we say that love heals, it's actually compassion. It allows us to see what isn't so, might be hard to look at, such as, racial bias or in ourselves, and to see it clearly so that we can ultimately, not from a place of purely understanding, but from a place of pure witnessing, help that begin to unravel itself, so we don't loop that chemistry.
Awesome.
So
I think that is so important though, to be able to step back and separate yourself a little bit from like realizing that we are not our reactions to things, that those are electrical impulses. That's part of our nervous system response. And in some situations that can be helpful. And in other situations, it's actually hindering our ability to have a relationship with people, or and whether that's someone in or someone that we don't know, or someone that's in our own home, what are those patterns, and being able to step outside of those patterns and see that is not who we are at our highest self necessarily, that those are just our behaviors.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, do you have I know you mentioned that you had a little practice that you were going to share with us today. So,
Yes. So I'll share, it's a highly technical trauma healing tool. It is only 5 seconds long. And did I say it was technical? So it's actually, we call it the wet noodle. So it's a goofy
very
name.
technical, very technical. Love it.
Yeah, so I'll do kind of a long version that'll take just a minute or so, and then we'll do the short version. And I would encourage everyone to use this tool, with what's happening on the news, with your own reactions to whatever's happening in your own world, because it's literally the way that we transform from reaction to being able to respond, which is so critical.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I'll just have everyone maybe comfortable. Just find your seat and maybe just find your breath for a moment. Maybe see if you can fill your low belly like a balloon with your breath. And in my work, I always invite people to go inside. And so from here, I'm just going to lead a little body scan. And as I do so, just notice like how much, I know I have a lot of tension right now. I'll just notice like how much tension in your body, which kind of tells you how much of a threat response you're in. So starting from the top of the head, just beginning to notice even tension at the top of the head. Maybe you've been kind of fuming through the ears with the amount of thinking that's been happening. So just notice the scalp, letting that loosen and relax. Notice the face, any tension or tightness in the face. Even inviting the pores of the face to open and to relax. Noticing the jaw, this is where we hold, it's kind of the master, the key holder of a lot of our tension in the body. So just notice your jaw, and tightness or clenching there. Inviting it to relax, and then the neck. It's the back, maybe along the occiput or kind of that big vertebrae where the neck reaches the back, and just relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the throat and the shoulders. You might notice if your shoulders have been holding you up all day, or if they're, if you have them like toward your ears, maybe just let your shoulders kind of relax back and down your spine. I'm sure this is something, Jamie, you instruct people on. Tension and energy in the hands, letting that go. Then I tell my clients like beads on a string, like all the vertebrae down the back, down the spine, every vertebrae. Just imagine you get to create space and expand. As you touch each vertebrae, noticing tension, letting it go until you get to the tailbone. And then at the tailbone, just releasing tension and releasing it. Maybe this makes your belly breath a little easier. So working that vagus nerve, and then of course the glutes. Letting go of all tension here. Actually, the main place we know we're in a threat response is when any of the muscle fibers, any of the bones around our pelvic bowl, so this whole area from the front to kind of the back of the buttocks, this whole area, if there's any tension there, we're usually in some kind of threat response. So just relaxing like you have a bowl of water. You hold it still. letting that area settle, and then going to the legs, the upper legs, letting them relax, the knees, the calves, releasing muscle tension here all the way to the ankles and to the feet. And just notice there might be a discharge of energy at the feet. It's really important to be able to feel our feet when we go through the day. So just invite earth energy to move up from the bottom of the feet. Okay, and now I'm going to give you the tool, which is to do all of this in 5 seconds. Count to 5, and you're just going to notice any tension in your whole body and relax all the muscles of your body. So I'll count to 5. 1, 2, loosening, becoming like Gumby, melting like a marshmallow. 3, 4, totally relaxed at 5. And 5. And so this tool is for the rest of today, for the next week.
I feel it. Now I'm going to go take a nap.
Just to count and to focus on. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
I love that because I did something similar this morning. I think you saw it. And I start with the feet and work up and then kind of work back down. But I never get to really do it with people because I'm always guiding people through it. So I felt it just is so lovely to take a few moments and breathe and relax and just let that go. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes. And I learned from, says that, trauma is healed in a relaxed muscle body. So whenever we can access relaxation, I know yoga is a big thing for me. Energy work is a big way to help kind of maybe break up these loop cycles and use the cognitive mind to have control and change, some of these cycles that are happening in the body. So yeah, anywhere we get relaxation is really important.
Yeah. Oh, that was lovely. So you guys, we're going to wrap things up here shortly, but today part of our giveaway today is an energy session with Rowen. So some lucky person here is going to get an energy session, and this can be done distance. Okay. So you can do this on Zoom. So if you're concerned about, being in a room with somebody and not wanting to be out of safer at home right now, then this is something that can be done remotely. So, and I think that, and Rowen is in this like really awesome little cottage down in New Mexico right now. So, so she couldn't come to Colorado anyway, if you're in Colorado, but, so that's part of our giveaway today. And the other part, we've got some really awesome handmade soap and some, supplements that help support the gut brain connection. So a lot of this like nervous system stuff that we were talking about. So, I don't know, is there anything else that you wanted to share today, Rowen, or?
I think that's so much of it, just to wrap up, that like learning how to respond, getting out of a threat response, relaxation and self-care is crucial to be able to make those choices. So
yeah, definitely. Well, all of her information, if you are not the lucky winner of today's giveaway, then all of the information is in the comments. So you can email her, you can go check out her website, and just, it would be great. I'm sure that there's plenty of time. If anybody else wants to schedule an energy session, there's time to do that. So I just am so excited. I'm so grateful that you were here today to share what you do, because I just, after working in mental health for 5 years, and I just know that, and I said this morning, I think it is so hard for us to be able to hold other people's pain and to listen to other people's trauma and to really witness it and be empathetic to what other people's experiences are, if we haven't fully healed our own traumas. If we haven't, because then it can put us back into that fight or flight response. So I do think it's so important to do this work internally so that we can then go out and listen and really listen to what other people are experiencing and not go into a response, a reaction, but we can actually be there to respond appropriately and to hold the space to listen and to hear what is going on with them. So thank you for doing the work that you do in trauma. I think that it's so important. And for the rest of you guys, hope you have a great rest of your Monday. And we will see you back here tomorrow, 11 and 4 tomorrow as well. So see you then. Bye, Rowen.
Thanks, Jamie. Bye.